Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. And Joe Moore, is that you? Do I foresee you in the immediate future of the Miami Hurricanes, right? So, unless you've been living under a rock, unless you have recently joined the bandwagon or whatever could have prevented you from getting here sooner, we just got Matt Lee. Matthew Lee, third rated center in all of college football this past year, according to PFF, right? Don't necessarily know the algorithms into which they use to compile their rankings, but Matthew Lee came out ranked the third graded center in all of college football, according to their particular metrics, right? So I have a PFF membership. I feel like it's valuable to me because I can reference it, to kind of get a gauge of what it is that we got. So, based on PFF's numbers, Matthew Lee excels. I mean, excels at pass blocking. Not too shabby in the run game, but excels at pass blocking. I believe his grade this particular year was a 90. Run blocking grade was an 80, right? I also got Javion Cohen, transfer. Again, another transfer from the University of Alabama. 2-year starter. Um, 2-year starter, but just kind of looking at his PFF grade, obviously he's a significant upgrade over what it is that we had, but I don't feel like he's as impactful as Matthew Lee can be. But I will pause and say that he's been developed at a very, very a very high tier program, and being able to come here to the University of Miami and be coached by Coach Mirabel and Coach Cristobal should progress his development. Same thing goes for Matthew Lee, who honestly has 2 years of eligibility left. Now, will he exercise those 2 additional years? I don't know. Jared versus exercising his, you know, eligibility to go back to Florida State. So, I mean, who exactly knows, right? Hoping that we get Zion Nelson back. Again, never really got an understanding of what it is his injury was. One week people would say, okay, he's walking. Next week, someone say, okay, now he's on crutches. So I don't really know, right? Hoping that Jalen Rivers can grow and be that other guard that we need. And at this particular point, it seems that one of the true freshmen could man one of the other tackle spots. But I will say this: I do feel like it will be a battle. I really do. I really like what some of the things that Aeneas Cooper did. And as I spoke about in one of my previous videos, as much blame or as much negative that we can find, in terms of last season. I don't, and you know what? I don't even like saying negative. I like saying critical criticism, right? Critical criticism, right? I'm gonna coin that critical criticism. So the amount of critical criticism that we were able to, talk about last particular season. One of the things that I really do think is a really, really good positive is the fact that we got guys to play. We got guys to play due to injuries. Now, I know the adage is, you play certain teams and you get up and you blow them out and you hope to get guys game reps against that. And that's good. I'm not here to knock that, but I do think that what our guys were able to get in terms of experience this particular year in games where there was not a blowout situation. It was simply guys were nicked up, guys were injured, and guys had to be called upon. I really feel like that goes a lot further than getting in and just overpowering an inferior opponent, right? You come in a game and you're actually going against, in many aspects, a superior opponent, in terms of some of the defensive lines that we faced this particular year. And I'm of the mindset is this. I know we talk about iron sharpens irons and iron sharpens iron in practice, and guys want to get back. Particular fan base, guys in the fan base, they talk about, hey, we need to get back to the situation where the practices are harder than the games. Well, until we get to that particular point, it is very interesting for the games to actually be hard and for guys actually to go in the game. Now, I'm thrilled, right? I'm excited about this particular pickup as well as the Cohen pickup, right? And excited about Zion Nelson coming back. Excited about the offensive line recruiting, right? We can talk about a lot of other positions that may not you know blow us, blow people out of the water. But I do think what has been done, along the offensive line, is simply just magnificent. I think obviously, of course, the defensive line would probably be the second most impressive, group in terms of just the talent that we have over on that side of the ball. Obviously, we're getting Ruben Vane this year, getting Najee Kelly last year, Leonard Taylor the year before that. So, and obviously got Akeem Mesidor, and so that's just, I mean, we're doing it. We are building the trenches. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm just here to talk about Joe Moore, right? Joe Moore. So as days go by, we don't know what the future may hold for our um, battled, battled, battled and battered offensive coordinator. And I'll be the first one to say that if we do turn this unit into a Joe Moore Award winning offensive line, then Josh Gaddis should go from looking like pure trash to looking like a solid offensive coordinator, because I really don't think that he will be that much more than that, right? And that's no knock to him. I don't want to hear anything else about the Broyles Award. I was just listening to Coach Hayes' show. Somebody called in and was talking about that dadgum Broyles Award. I'm sitting up here like, my God, man. My goodness. Let's. I didn't want to talk about Josh Gas. I want to talk about this Joe Moore one. I don't even want to talk about Josh Gas. But as a Miami Hurricane fan, this is something that we've been looking for. Obviously, I feel like some fans have kind of put extra sauce on it. And when I say extra sauce on it, I'm talking about just guys talking about that we haven't paid attention to the offensive line or tried to build the trenches. And that couldn't be no further than from the truth. The problem is that we couldn't develop it. That was the issue. Casey McDermott, Trevor Darling, Kylie Herbert, just some guy, just those are just the three names that pop off my head. Bar Milo, however you pronounce his last name. So we've gotten guys. Jalen Rivers was highly regarded. Devon Donaldson, right? Many people pegged Devon Donaldson as a NFL draft prospect. As soon as he got here, as a freshman, and just I mean that's just what is. So we've addressed it, right? But again, it's one of those kind of situations where um, just people just want to put extra sauce on it, man. That's all it is. We done well in the trenches previously, but the hope now is that we can do well in the trenches in terms of actually turning these guys into respectable players, and actually garnering some awards, and actually going high in the particular draft. So with the additions that we have on the offensive line, should we be favored to have possibly on paper the best offensive line going into next season in the ACC? Um, I would think so, right? I would think so. Obviously, of course, injuries, we have to watch the injury. But again, like I said, seeing as that we got so many guys, some game experience, whether the experience was good or whether the experience is bad, I think experience is good. It's kind of one of those things where people say, publicity, whether it be good or bad. There's no such thing as bad publicity. So I don't think there's no such thing as bad actual game reps. Even though you may look bad in the game, but it does give the coach something to actually look at on film, and then we can work on how to correct those particular issues. And we rotated in some younger guys as well, so that's another thing that I do think has to be highlighted when we talk about. Well, I don't talk about it because I don't want to have those conversations. But in terms of just offensive line things that we did last particular year, we did have some young guys that actually got in and actually played. All the reps didn't look good, but I think guys played hard, and I think again, in spring, I do think that we should look very well. Now, how the guys will, how the guys will, how much cohesion we should have. That's still up in the air. Obviously, we know that the center is the quarterback of the offensive line, so having a center with that amount of experience, playing at that particular level, that's a good thing. Now, I will say this, right? UCF is not in the Big 12 just yet, right? They're not in the Big 12 just yet. So it will be a step up in competition for Matthew Lee, right? But I do think that at his time at UCF, we've looked at it. If you have access to PFF, you can see that his grade has improved substantially. I believe it actually jumped an entire 10 points from last year to this particular year. So that's a great thing. I don't know if it's just being a little bit more comfortable in Gus Malzahn's offense, which I think is a good actual fit because when we think about Gus Malzahn's offense, is very similar to um, what Coach Mario wants to do in terms of when Gus Malzahn was at his height, right? Obviously, when he got Jarrett Stidham and things like that, became a little bit more pass oriented versus what we saw when he had Nick Marshall back at the University of Auburn. So I do think that from a schematic or just from a fit for a scheme, I do think Matthew Lee should do a fairly decent job, right? We have to take all those particular variables into account when we're assessing this, right? But I'm happy, and yes, we should be the best offensive line in the ACC on paper, right? I'm not gonna put the cart before the horse. This is why I continue to say on paper because one thing about paper, you can rip it up, you can ball it up, you can burn it up, you can do anything with paper, right? So it's like rock paper scissors, like paper covers rock. But just think about this in real life. Like if you were to cover a rock in some paper, and let's say you throw that rock with the paper on it, and it hits something, the paper's gonna begin to get cuts and stuff in it, and the paper's not gonna be. Just think about that. Paper in natural habitat, paper's not gonna last too long. If it rains, it's gonna get wet. If it gets too hot, it's gonna become brittle. So on paper means absolutely nothing, right? But I'm not going to take this time to be a Debbie Downer or a negative Nancy because I really am truly ecstatic about what Coach Cristobal and company are doing in terms of recruiting at the high school level along the offensive line and what we've been able to do in the portal along with the guys that we have returning. It should make Miami Hurricane fans feel good on the inside. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to say this, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to be honest with you. I like seeing the ball thrown around the yard. I really do. But man, to me, man, ain't nothing like just sometimes, man, you just get on that drive and you got a back that's feeling it and the offensive line is opening it up, man, and he's just getting the job done. All right. But again, you gotta make sure, the quarterback, does what he does. But, I like it, right? So Coach Cristobal, you got you're building yourself time, but I do like the urgency and the urgency in which that you're doing things. So again, Joe Moore, is that you? As always, man, like, share, subscribe, comment, and hey, it's all about the you, baby.